What if the reason you feel so tired is not because life is asking too much from you right now, but because you are still carrying things that were never meant to stay in your heart this long? What if the heaviness you feel is not your true nature at all? What if peace has been waiting for you, very close, very quiet, just behind the weight of old pain, old fear, old stress, and old sadness? There comes a moment in life when the soul can no longer keep holding everything. There comes a moment when the heart whispers, "This is too much. I am ready to put this down." And that moment is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is a sign that something loving is trying to happen inside you. It is a sign that healing is near. It is a sign that life is asking you to make space for something better. So take a slow breath and let yourself hear this truth. You do not have to keep carrying what has been draining you. You do not have to keep holding every memory, every disappointment, every hurt, every fear of what may happen next. You do not have to keep repeating the same pain in your mind as if it is your job to never forget it. You do not have to hold on so tightly to what has already taken so much from you. There is a softer way to live. There is a gentler way to move through life. There is a way to be strong without being hard, open without being afraid, and peaceful without needing everything to be perfect first. Many people think blessings come only when they work harder, try harder, push harder, or control more. But life does not always open that way. Very often, the new good you have been asking for does not enter while your hands are tight with fear. It enters when your hands begin to open. It enters when your breath softens. It enters when you stop asking your tired heart to carry one more thing. It enters when you finally say, "I have carried enough, and now I am ready for peace." There is a deep wisdom in that moment. There is power in that moment, because when you let go of what has been draining you, you do not become empty in a painful way. You become empty in a sacred way. You become available for peace. You become available for healing. You become available for new blessings. Sometimes what drains you is easy to see. It may be a painful memory you return to again and again. It may be fear that sits in your chest from morning until night. It may be anger that never got a chance to leave. It may be guilt that follows you even after the lesson is already learned. It may be pressure to be everything for everyone. It may be the habit of always expecting the worst so you do not get hurt again. It may be the way you keep replaying old moments and asking why, and sometimes what drains you is harder to notice. It may be the quiet stress of always trying to seem fine. It may be the hidden sadness you carry without talking about it. It may be the belief that rest must be earned. It may be the feeling that if you relax, everything will fall apart. These things take energy. They pull on the spirit. They dim the light inside you little by little, day after day. But no matter what has been draining you, the truth is the same. You were not made to live with a heavy heart forever. You were not made to wake up each day already tired in your soul. You were not made to hold on to what keeps hurting you just because it has been with you for a long time. Just because something has been in your life for a long time does not mean it belongs in your future. Just because you have carried a burden for years does not mean you must carry it for one more day. This is the beautiful turning point. The moment you notice what has been draining you is the moment you begin to loosen its hold. Awareness is the first opening. Awareness is the first breath of freedom. Awareness says, I see what this has been doing to me, and I am ready for another way. There is something deeply holy about deciding that your peace matters. There is something powerful about saying, I do not want to live in constant heaviness anymore. Not because you are weak, not because you are selfish, not because you are giving up, but because your spirit deserves room to breathe. Your heart deserves kindness. Your mind deserves rest, and your life deserves to be filled with more than just surviving. You are allowed to want joy. You are allowed to want ease. You are allowed to want mornings that do not begin in worry and nights that do not end in fear. You are allowed to want a life that feels lighter, softer, and full of quiet grace. The beautiful thing about letting go is that it does not always require a dramatic moment. Sometimes it begins in a whisper. Sometimes it begins with one simple thought. I do not want to keep carrying this. Sometimes it begins with tears you did not expect. Sometimes it begins with one deep breath after 9 days of tension. Sometimes it begins when you place your hand on your heart and admit, this is hurting me. Sometimes it begins when you stop defending the very thing that is draining your peace. And sometimes it begins when you become honest enough to say, I have given too much energy to this, and now I am ready to call my energy back. Life has a gentle way of meeting you when you become willing, not when you know everything, not when you have all the answers, not when you are fully healed already. Life meets you when you become willing, willing to release, willing to trust, willing to stop building your home inside old pain, willing to stop telling yourself that suffering is the only way to be safe, willing to believe that there can still be goodness ahead. That willingness is enough to begin. You do not need to force yourself into joy. You do not need to pretend you are fine. You do not need to leap all at once from heaviness into freedom. You only need to open a little. You only need to soften a little. You only need to let one small breath of peace enter the room of your heart. And when that peace begins to enter, something changes. You start to remember who you are under the stress. You start to remember that you are not the fear you have been carrying. You are not the pain that happened to you. You are not the weight that has been sitting on your chest. You are something deeper than all of that. There is still a quiet light inside you. There is still wisdom inside you. There is still love inside you. There is still a part of you that knows how to trust, how to rest, how to begin again. That part of you may have been buried under exhaustion, but it has not disappeared. It is still there, waiting for space, waiting for gentleness, waiting for you to stop filling every corner of your inner world with things that hurt. The heart is like a home. If every room is filled with old boxes of pain, fear, regret, and tension, then where will peace sit? Where will joy rest? Where will fresh hope enter? Where will blessings go? Sometimes the reason new goodness has not felt strong in your life is not because it is missing. Sometimes it is because your inner space has been crowded with what is already over, what is already gone, what is already too heavy to keep carrying. New blessings need room. They need open space. They need a soft place to land. And that is why letting go matters so much. Not because you are trying to erase your past, but because you are finally choosing to make room for your future. There is a deep relief in knowing that you do not have to solve your whole life today. You do not have to figure out every step. You do not have to heal every wound before sunset. You do not have to answer every fear in your mind. Maybe for now, all you need to do is notice what has been draining you and stop feeding it more of your energy. Maybe all you need to do is say, I am no longer available for what empties me, Ma. Maybe all you need to do is breathe and allow the truth to settle inside you. I can release what is heavy and I can receive what is good. That simple truth can change the way you walk through the world. It can change the way you wake up. It can change the way you speak to yourself when the old weight tries to return. You may have spent so long being strong for everyone else that you forgot what it feels like to be gentle with yourself. You may have become so used to carrying the emotional weight of everything around you that you began to think that was just life. But being tired all the time in your spirit is not something you must accept as normal. Constant inner strain is not the life your heart longs for. The soul knows when it is living with too much weight. The body knows too. It shows up in the tension you carry, the tiredness you cannot explain, the thoughts that keep racing, the moments when your chest feels tight for no clear reason. These are not signs that you are failing. They are signs that you need release. They are signs that something inside you is asking for a kinder way. And maybe this is the moment you begin to listen. Maybe this is the moment you stop arguing with your own need for peace. Maybe this is the moment you stop saying, I will rest later, I will heal later, I will let go later, after everything is finished, after everyone else is okay, after life becomes less busy, after the world becomes easier, but peace does not always come after everything is fixed. Often peace begins right in the middle of the unfinished. It begins when you choose, even now, to stop carrying what is not helping you live. It begins when you give yourself permission to release what has overstayed in your heart. Imagine how it would feel to wake up without carrying yesterday into every new morning. Imagine how it would feel to stop giving your best energy to old wounds. Imagine how it would feel to trust that what is draining you does not deserve permanent space inside you. Imagine how it would feel to know that you can put something down without losing yourself. In truth, sometimes you find yourself again when you finally put it down. Sometimes you return to your own light when you stop holding what has made your world dark. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is release with grace. This is not about becoming cold. It is not about pretending things did not matter. It is not about pushing feelings away. Real letting go is not hard and sharp. It is soft and honest. It says, "This mattered, and it hurt, and it changed me, but I will not let it keep draining the life out of me." Real letting go is full of wisdom. It is full of care. It is full of quiet strength. It is the choice to stop bleeding energy into what cannot nourish you. It is the choice to stop making a home inside sorrow. It is the choice to believe that peace is not something you must beg for. Peace is something you can begin to allow. So if your heart is tired, let that be enough reason to begin. If your mind has been too full, let that be enough reason to begin. If your soul has been asking for rest in quiet ways, let that be enough reason to begin. You do not need a perfect reason to choose healing. You do not need a perfect plan to choose release. You only need to know this: what has drained you does not have to define the rest of your life. There are still new blessings that can fill your days. There is still new peace that can enter your spirit. There is still new joy that can rise inside you. There is still new strength waiting to find you. But first, there must be room. That is why this moment matters. This moment is not small. This moment is an opening. This moment is a door. This moment is a turning point in the way you live inside yourself. You can keep holding what hurts because it is familiar, or you can slowly open your hands. You can keep feeding what drains you, or you can begin to call your peace back home. You can keep living as though heaviness is all you can expect, or you can become willing to receive something better. The choice may feel simple, but it is sacred, because every time you choose peace over old pain, every time you choose release over fear, every time you choose trust over inner struggle, you make more room for life to bless you. And blessings do not always come as big, loud moments. Sometimes they come quietly. They come as a lighter breath. They come as a calmer mind. They come as the first morning in a long time, when your chest does not feel so tight. They come as the courage to stop looking back. They come as the decision to stop letting old wounds tell you who you are. They come as gentle hope, returning to places inside you that had gone silent. They come as a softer way of speaking to yourself. They come as peace sitting beside you where fear used to live. These blessings are real. They matter. And they begin the moment you stop giving all your room to what has already drained enough from you. So let this truth settle into you now. You do not need to carry everything. You do not need to keep proving your strength by staying burdened. You do not need to stay loyal to what hurts you. You do not need to keep living with a heart that is too full of what no longer belongs. It is safe to release. It is safe to soften. It is safe to open. And as you do, life can begin to fill you again, not with more pressure, not with more pain, but with grace, with light, with rest, with healing, with the quiet blessings that have been waiting for an open place in you. Holding on can look strong from the outside, but inside it often feels like slowly fading. It can feel like carrying a bag filled with stones and trying to smile as though it weighs nothing. At first, you may not notice just how much it is taking from you. You get used to the tension. You get used to the racing thoughts. You get used to the tiredness that follows you even after sleep. You get used to the heaviness that sits quietly in the background of your day. But the soul notices, the heart notices, the body notices. They all feel what the mind keeps trying to manage, and over time, what you keep holding begins to shape the way you breathe, the way you think, the way you love, the way you rest, and the way you move through life. Old pain has a way of asking for energy again and again. It asks for your attention in the middle of the night. It asks for your focus in moments that should be peaceful. It asks you to replay what happened, to imagine what should have happened, to wonder what you could have done differently. It asks you to carry old conversations into new mornings. It asks you to stay close to the very thing that keeps hurting you. And if you are not careful, you can spend years feeding something that never truly feeds you back. That is how holding on drains the soul. It creates an endless pull inside. It keeps you tied to what is over, while taking life away from what is still possible. The soul becomes tired when it has no room to rest, and holding on leaves very little room. When the heart is filled with fear, resentment, guilt, regret, or constant worry, it has to work so hard just to stay open. Think about how much energy it takes to keep reliving the same hurt. Think about how much energy it takes to keep defending yourself against something that is no longer even happening. Think about how much energy it takes to carry pressure from the past into every new day. This is not light work. This is not small. It quietly asks your spirit to stay on guard. It teaches your nervous system to expect more pain. It makes your mind scan for danger, even in moments that could be full of peace. Many people do not realize how draining it is to keep holding emotional weight, because emotional weight cannot always be seen. If someone asked you to carry a heavy box every hour of every day, you would quickly say, "This is too much." But when the heaviness is invisible, people often think they must simply learn to live with it. They think, "This is just who I am now. I am just anxious. I am just tired. I am just overwhelmed." But sometimes what feels like your personality is really unhealed weight. Sometimes what feels like your identity is really exhaustion from carrying too much for too long. Sometimes the soul is not broken, it is burdened. And burdened things do not need shame, they need release. Holding on can drain you in obvious ways, but also in quiet ways. It can make joy feel far away. It can make simple things feel hard. It can make your mind heavy before the day even begins. It can make rest feel impossible because your body lies still while your thoughts keep running. It can make you pull away from good things because a part of you is too tired to trust them. It can make love harder to receive because your heart is still busy. Holding old hurt. It can make hope feel dangerous because disappointment once cost you so much. Bit by bit, holding on does not just drain your energy, it begins to drain your ability to fully receive life. The soul was not made to live in constant inner struggle. The soul was made for truth, for peace, for love, for growth, for presence. That does not mean life will always be easy. It does not mean pain will never visit you. But it does mean pain was never meant to become your permanent home. Fear was never meant to sit on the throne of your life. Regret was never meant to shape every choice you make. Worry was never meant to be the voice you trust the most. These things may visit, but they are not meant to stay forever. Yet when you hold on to them, you give them a seat at your table day after day. You let them speak into your mornings, your relationships, your sleep, your future, and little by little, they drain the warmth from your inner world. Think of how a plant looks when the soil has become dry. The leaves begin to lose life. The color fades. The strength is still there deep inside, but the plant is no longer being nourished. In the same way, your spirit begins to fade when it is not being fed with peace, kindness, and hope. Holding on to what hurts is like pouring all your water into the ground of yesterday and leaving nothing for today. It is giving life to old sorrow, while the present waits to be cared for. This is why so many people feel empty, even when they are doing all the right things on the outside. They are still giving too much energy to what has already taken enough. One of the most draining things to hold on to is the need to understand everything before you can have peace. The mind can become trapped in a loop that says, once I understand why this happened, once I make sense of it all, once I know what it meant, then I will rest. But life does not always hand you answers in the moment you want them. Sometimes the heart must heal before the mind understands. Sometimes peace comes before full clarity. Sometimes you do not need one more explanation. You need one more breath. You need one more moment of softness. You need one more choice not to chase pain through every corner of your mind. The search for answers can become another heavy thing you carry, when what your soul really needs is permission to stop. Holding on to guilt can be especially draining, because guilt keeps the heart tied to the past in a painful way. It tells you that you must keep replaying what happened so you never make a mistake again. It tells you that punishing yourself is somehow a form of wisdom. It tells you that if you suffer enough inside, then maybe you have earned peace. But that is not love. That is not healing. Guilt may teach a lesson for a moment, but it is not meant to become a room you live in. Once the lesson is seen, guilt has done its job. What comes next should be compassion, growth, and release. If you keep carrying guilt long after the lesson is learned, it begins to drain your spirit instead of guiding it. Holding on to resentment drains the soul too. Resentment may feel like protection at first. It may feel like a shield that says, I will not forget what happened, and I will not be hurt that way again. But over time, resentment asks you to keep drinking bitterness in the hope that someone else will feel it. It keeps the wound active. It keeps your body in tension. It keeps your heart tied to pain. It makes it hard to feel light, hard to trust, hard to open. This does not mean your hurt was not real. It does not mean what happened did not matter. It means your peace matters too. It means the soul cannot stay healthy while feeding on bitterness forever. It means there comes a point when the most healing thing is not to keep the wound alive, but to stop giving it all your life force. Worry drains the soul in its own quiet way. It makes promises it cannot keep. It says, if you think about this enough, maybe you can control it. If you imagine the worst, maybe you can protect yourself. If you stay tense, maybe nothing will catch you off guard, but worry rarely brings real safety. What it often brings is exhaustion. It steals the beauty from the moment you are in and gives it to a future that has not even happened yet. It keeps the body on alert. It robs the mind of stillness. It makes peace feel far away even when nothing is wrong in the room you are standing in. A worried mind can live in tomorrow so strongly that it forgets how to live today. There are also quiet forms of holding on that many people carry without naming them. Holding on to the need to be perfect, holding on to the belief that rest must be earned, holding on to the fear of disappointing others, holding on to an old version of yourself because it feels safer than change, holding on to roles that no longer fit who you are becoming, holding on to sadness because it feels familiar, holding on to stress because calm feels strange. These forms of holding on are easy to miss because they can hide inside daily habits, but they still drain the soul. Anything that keeps you in constant inner tension will eventually ask too much from your spirit. The soul does not only get drained by pain, it can also get drained by constant self-judgment. The way you speak to yourself matters. If your inner voice is always correcting, blaming, pushing, or telling you that you are behind, not enough, too much, too weak, too late, then your soul receives that weight. It is draining to live inside a mind that never offers kindness. It is draining to wake up each day and meet yourself with criticism before life has even begun. Many people carry exhaustion not only from what happened to them, but from the war they keep fighting against themselves. Peace becomes hard to feel when your own thoughts do not feel safe. And sometimes the deepest drain comes from pretending you are okay when you are not, pretending something did not hurt when it did, pretending you have moved on when a part of you is still carrying the ache, pretending you are not tired because you think everyone else needs you to be strong. Pretending can drain the soul because it creates distance between what you feel and what you allow yourself to say. It teaches the heart to hide from its own truth. But healing begins with honesty. Healing begins when you stop pretending the burden is light and admit that it has been heavy for too long. There is nothing weak about being honest about what drains you. In fact, that honesty is where strength begins to become real. Real strength is not forcing yourself to carry what is crushing you. Real strength is knowing when to stop. Real strength is recognizing when something is costing too much of your peace. Real strength is choosing to care for your soul before it goes numb. Real strength is saying, this burden has taken enough from me, and I am ready to live differently. That kind of honesty changes everything. It turns survival into healing. It turns numbness into awareness. It turns heaviness into a place where release can begin. The beautiful thing is that the soul begins to recover the moment you stop adding more weight. The moment you stop replaying, stop chasing, stop proving, stop punishing yourself, stop feeding what hurts, the soul feels it. The moment you say, I no longer want to spend my life carrying what drains me, something soft begins to return. Maybe not all at once, maybe not in a dramatic way, but little by little, a deeper breath, a calmer morning, a softer body, a clearer mind, a heart that no longer feels so crowded. This is how healing often begins, not with a loud breakthrough, but with a quiet choice to stop carrying what has been stealing your life. Your soul needs room to breathe. It needs room to feel joy without guilt. It needs room to receive peace without fear. It needs room to trust that not everything must be held so tightly. It needs room to believe that life can still bring something beautiful, and none of that room becomes available while every corner is filled with old strain. Letting go is not about becoming careless. It is about becoming free enough to feel alive again. It is about choosing not to spend your precious life energy on what only keeps taking from you. It is about caring enough for your own spirit to say, this is too costly, and I choose something kinder now. If you have been feeling tired in a way sleep does not fix, maybe your soul has been asking for release. If you have been feeling heavy even when life looks normal on the outside, maybe something inside has been held too long. If you have been feeling far from yourself, far from joy, far from the simply ease you once knew, maybe it is not because you are lost. Maybe it is because you are overloaded. And overloaded things need space. They need gentleness. They need time. They need truth. Most of all, they need permission to put something down. So let yourself consider this with an open heart. What if you are not meant to carry all of this any longer? What if the tiredness is not a flaw but a message? What if your spirit is trying to show you that it is time to release what has been draining you? What if peace is not far away at all? What if peace begins the moment you stop asking your soul to live under the weight of what it can no longer hold with love? There is freedom in that question. There is healing in that question. And there is a doorway there too. A doorway into a life where your energy is no longer spent feeding old pain, but is free to receive something new. Many people are afraid of letting go because they think it means losing something important. They think it means giving up, forgetting, becoming careless, or pretending that what happened did not matter. But letting go is not any of those things. Letting go is not saying that your pain was small. It is not saying your memories are not real. It is not saying your love did not matter, your effort did not matter, or your experience did not matter. Letting go is not denial. Letting go is healing. It is the choice to stop letting the pain keep using your energy long after the moment has passed. It is the choice to honor what was real without letting it rule your inner life forever. Healing begins when you understand that holding on and honoring are not the same thing. You can honor something without carrying its full weight every day. You can remember something without living inside it. You can learn from something without letting it drain you forever. You can love what was good without remaining trapped in what was painful. This is one of the deepest forms of wisdom, The heart grows when it learns that release is not betrayal. Release is care. Release is the moment you say, I see what this has been, I accept what it has taught me, and I no longer need to bleed energy into it every day. A tight grip can feel safe because it feels familiar. When you have been holding something for a long time, even pain can begin to feel like part of your identity. It can feel strange to imagine life without it. You may wonder, if I let this go, who will I be? If I stop carrying this, what happens to the story I have told myself for so long? If I release this anger, this guilt, this sadness, this fear, then what fills that space? These are tender questions. They deserve kindness, but the answer is beautiful. When you let go, you do not become less yourself. You become more yourself. You return to the part of you that existed before. The burden became so heavy. You return to your natural light. You return to a softer truth. Letting go is healing because it allows your energy to move again. Pain that I see held too tightly becomes stuck. It sits in the body. It shapes your thoughts. It colors your days. It tells the heart to stay guarded. But when you begin to release, even little by little, something begins to soften. The breath deepens, the shoulders drop, the mind gets quieter. The heart remembers how to feel open again. This is what healing feels like at first. It does not always arrive as joy right away. Sometimes it arrives as relief. Sometimes it arrives as space. Sometimes it arrives as the strange but beautiful feeling of not being at war with yourself anymore. There is no healing in forcing yourself to hold one more thing than your soul can carry with peace. There is no healing in staying loyal to pain just because it has been with you for a long time. Time alone does not make something sacred. If something continues to empty you, harden you, isolate you, or keep you from receiving life, then holding on to it is not wisdom. Wisdom is knowing when something has taught all it can teach. Wisdom is knowing when the lesson has been learned and the burden no longer needs to stay. Wisdom is knowing that your peace matters too. Healing begins when you choose peace without needing to hate your past. One of the most loving truths you can learn is that open hands heal better than closed fists. Closed fists are tired. Closed fists are tense. Closed fists cannot receive much. They are busy holding, guarding, resisting, proving, but open hands are different. Open hands say, I trust enough to stop gripping so hard. Open hands say, I do not have to control everything to be safe. Open hands say, I am willing to release what hurts and receive what heals. This is not weakness. This is courage. It takes courage to open. It takes courage to soften after pain. It takes courage to believe that life can still place something beautiful in your hands after all you have carried. But that courage is where healing lives. Sometimes people hold on because they think pain keeps them connected to what mattered. They think if they let go, they will lose the meaning, lose the love, lose the lesson, lose the truth of what they went through. But real healing does not erase what mattered. It allows you to carry the truth without carrying the wound in the same way. It allows memory to stay while suffering softens. It allows wisdom to remain while heaviness leaves. It allows love to remain while fear loosens its grip. You do not lose the meaningful parts when you heal. You lose the chains, and that is a holy kind of freedom. Letting go is healing because it makes room for life to touch you again. When the heart is closed around old pain, even good things can struggle to enter. Kindness may come, but it cannot settle. Peace may appear, but it does not stay long. Love may knock, but fear answers the door. This is not because you do not deserve good things. It is because pain has been taking up too much space. But when you begin to release you, your inner world becomes more open. You become able to receive small joys again. You begin to notice beauty again. You allow yourself to trust calm again. Little by little, life stops feeling like something you only survive and starts feeling like something you can gently receive. Healing is often quieter than people expect. Many people imagine healing as one big moment, one clear turning point, one day when all the pain leaves and everything becomes easy. But often, healing happens like the morning light. It enters slowly. It touches one part of the room, then another. It does not rush. It does not demand. It simply arrives where there is space. Letting go works the same way. You may not release everything in one day. You may not wake up tomorrow completely free of every heavy feeling. But if you loosen your grip even a little, healing begins to enter. If you stop feeding the hurt every hour, healing begins to enter. If you stop calling pain your permanent home, healing begins to enter. This is why letting go is not the end of something beautiful. It is the beginning of something beautiful. It is the beginning of inner peace. It is the beginning of rest. It is the beginning of a softer relationship with yourself. It is the beginning of more honest breathing, more present living, more gentle thinking. It is the beginning of not carrying yesterday into every part of today. It is the beginning of trusting that your heart can survive release. In truth, the heart often becomes stronger after release because it is no longer spending all of its strength on staying heavy. There are times when letting go means releasing a thought pattern that has harmed you. A thought like, I am not enough. A thought like, I always ruin things. A thought like, nothing good stays. A thought like, I must carry everything alone. These thoughts can live in the mind for years and slowly drain the spirit. Letting go of them may feel strange at first because they have become familiar. But healing asks you to question what you have accepted as truth. Healing asks you to ask, is this thought helping me live, helping me breathe, helping me love, helping me heal? If the answer is no, then release becomes an act of love. You are not losing part of yourself. You are losing what has kept you smaller than your true life. There are also times when letting go means releasing the need to keep reopening the same wound. Some people revisit pain because it feels safer than the unknown. If I stay with the hurt, at least I know where I am, the mind says. If I move toward healing, I do not know what comes next, but healing is not your enemy. The unknown is not always danger. Sometimes the unknown is freedom. Sometimes the unknown is rest. Sometimes the unknown is the first day of a lighter life. Letting go is what allows you to find out. Letting go is the bridge bet. Wean the world that drained you and the life that is trying to bless you. It is important to remember that healing does not always ask you to throw everything away at once. Sometimes healing is very gentle. It asks only for one small release at a time. One thought less, one moment of self-blame less, one night spent not replaying the past, one breath taken without fear, one choice to stop chasing answers, one act of forgiveness toward yourself, one boundary that protects your peace, one quiet decision not to return to what empties you. Small releases matter, small openings matter, small acts of kindness toward your own spirit matter. They add up. They teach the nervous system that it is safe to soften. They teach the heart that peace is possible. Many people need to hear this. Letting go does not mean you no longer care. You can care deeply and still release. You can love deeply and still release. You can value what was once important and still release. Healing is not cold. Healing is warm. Healing is the moment you choose to stop hurting yourself in order to prove that something mattered. Healing is the moment you realize that carrying endless pain is not the same as carrying love. Healing is the moment you allow peace to sit where suffering has been sitting for too long. And yes, sometimes letting go feels like grief before it feels like freedom. That is normal. When you release something heavy, you may still feel sadness, you may still feel tears, you may still feel the ache of what was lost, what did not happen, what should have been different. But that sadness is not failure. It is part of healing. It is the heart adjusting to truth. It is the soul learning how to live without clinging to what once defined its pain. Grief can walk beside healing for a while, but grief that is allowed to move is very different from pain that is forced to stay stuck. Letting go gives grief a chance to flow. It gives the soul a chance to breathe between the waves. There is so much healing in the simple words, "I do not need to carry this in the same way anymore." Those words are not dramatic, but they are powerful. They tell the body it can relax a little. They tell the mind it can stop circling. They tell the heart it is allowed to heal. They tell the spirit that freedom is possible. And once those words become real inside you, blessings begin to find more space. Peace begins to feel more natural. Rest begins to feel more possible. You begin to trust that you are not losing yourself by letting go. You are returning to yourself. Maybe for a long time you believed that if you let go, nothing good would remain. But healing shows you something different. Healing shows you that when pain loosens its grip, goodness can rise, clarity can rise, Energy can rise, self-respect can rise, joy can rise, faith can rise. There is life on the other side of the burden. There is light on the other side of the heaviness. There is a softer and stronger version of you waiting on the other side of what has drained you. That version of you is not far away. It begins to appear the moment you choose release over inner struggle. So if your heart has been afraid that letting go means losing, let this truth sit with you gently. Letting go is not losing, it is healing. It is choosing not to keep living from the wound. It is choosing not to make a home inside what hurts. It is choosing to believe that peace is allowed to enter now. It is choosing to believe that what drained you is not the whole story of your life. There is more for you than tension. There is more for you than replaying the old pain. There is more for you than staying emotionally tied to what empties you. There is healing. There is release. There is room for something new. And as that room opens, something beautiful begins. Your breath becomes less guarded. Your thoughts become less sharp. Your body becomes less tense. Your heart becomes less crowded. You begin to notice moments of ease. You begin to feel small flashes of hope. You begin to sense that life is not asking you to hold on forever. Life may be asking you to trust enough to open, trust enough to soften, trust enough to let healing happen in a place that has known too much strain. That is not loss, that is grace entering. That is your spirit being restored. That is the beginning of new blessings finding their way into the space where heaviness used to live. One of the deepest reasons people stay tired inside is because they are trying to control too much. They are trying to control what others think, what others feel, what tomorrow will bring, how healing should happen, when life should change, and how every detail should unfold. It is exhausting. The mind begins to believe that if it can just think enough, plan enough, worry enough, and prepare enough, then maybe it can keep pain away. But life does not become peaceful because you hold it tighter. Very often, life becomes peaceful when you stop gripping it so hard. The truth is simple, and it can feel hard to accept at first. Not everything needs your control in order to work out. Some things need your trust more than your tension. Control often feels like safety, but very often it is fear wearing the clothes of strength. It says, if I stay alert, I will be protected. If I keep watching every detail, nothing will go wrong. If I keep going over everything in my mind, I will be ready. But that kind of control rarely brings peace. What it often brings is a tired body, a restless mind, and a heart that never fully relaxes. It creates the feeling that life is something you must wrestle into place instead of something you can walk through with steadiness and trust. And when that happens, even good moments can be hard to enjoy, because part of you is already bracing for the next problem. There is a big difference between being responsible and trying to control everything. Responsibility is healthy. It means showing up, caring, making wise choices, doing what is yours to do, but control goes further than that. Control tries to carry what does not belong to you. It tries to manage outcomes that are not in your hands. It tries to decide the exact way life must look before you can feel calm. That is where the heaviness begins. Because the truth is, no one can control every outcome. No one can force perfect timing. No one can make life move only in straight lines. Life has its own rhythm, its own wisdom, its own unfolding. The more you fight that truth, the more drained you become. Sometimes control enters quietly. It hides in overthinking. It hides in replaying conversations long after they are over. It hides in always needing to know what comes next. It hides in feeling uneasy when things are uncertain. It hides in trying to keep everyone happy so nothing becomes uncomfortable. It hides in trying to predict every problem before it appears. It hides in the belief that if you relax, everything will fall apart. But peace does not come from holding every piece together with fear. Peace comes from knowing that not every piece is yours to hold. The heart becomes lighter when it learns this truth. Life is not asking you to control everything. Life is asking you to trust more deeply. That does not mean you stop caring. It does not mean you stop making wise choices. It does not mean you sit back and do nothing. It means you stop carrying the weight of every possible outcome as if your soul must solve the whole future today. It means you do your part and then let life breathe. It means you stop demanding certainty before you allow yourself peace. It means you stop making fear the leader of your inner world. Blessings do not often enter a life that is clenched shut with control. Blessings need room. They need openness. They need moments where the heart is not gripping so tightly that it cannot receive anything unexpected. Many people pray for new peace, new love, new healing, new joy. But inside, they are still tightly holding every fear, every timeline, and every need to know exactly how things will happen. But life does not always move through force. It moves through flow. It moves through grace. It moves through moments when you stop trying to push every door open and begin to trust that what is meant for you will arrive in the right way. Control can make you believe that everything depends on how hard you hold on. But some of the most beautiful things in life do not grow that way. Peace does not grow well under pressure. Love does not grow well under fear. Healing does not grow well under constant inner force. Think of how gently a flower opens. Think of how naturally the morning light enters the room. Think of how the seasons change without being pushed. There is wisdom in that. There is a reminder there that not all good things come through pressure. Some things come through allowing. Some things come through patience. Some things come when you stop trying to force life and begin to move with it. So much suffering comes from the belief that you must know exactly how things will turn out before you can rest. But what if rest is not something you must earn through certainty? What if peace is available even before all the answers come? What if your heart is allowed to soften even while some things are still unknown? Control says, I will relax when everything is clear. Trust says, I can breathe even here. Control says, I must hold it all together. Trust says, I am supported even when I do not see the whole picture. Control says, I cannot let go. Trust says, I do not have to carry everything to be safe. There is a quiet freedom in admitting that some things are beyond your control. At first, the mind may not like that truth. It may feel uncomfortable. It may feel like weakness, but really it is honesty, and honesty is where peace begins. Because once you stop trying to manage what you cannot control, you gain energy to care for what actually is yours. You can care for your thoughts. You can care for your choices. You can care for your boundaries. You can care for the way you speak to yourself. You can care for how you use your time and your energy. These things matter. These things are real. These things are enough. You do not need to carry the whole world in order to live a meaningful life. Control often keeps the body in a state of tension. Even when you are sitting still, something inside remains tight. The shoulders stay raised, the jaw stays hard, the chest stays guarded, the mind keeps scanning, solving, and watching. It can become so normal that you forget what ease feels like. But your body was not made to live in constant alert. Your spirit was not made to live in constant effort. There is wisdom in softness. There is wisdom in a deep breath. There is wisdom in letting the shoulders drop and saying, I do not have to force this moment. I do not have to push life right now. I can be here. I can breathe here. I can trust here. Not every unanswered question needs to be chased today. Not every fear needs to be solved right now. Not every delay means something is wrong. Not every closed door is failure. Sometimes what you call a delay is protection. Sometimes what you call uncertainty is space for something better to form. Sometimes what feels uncomfortable is simply the place where control ends and trust begins. And that can feel strange at first if you have lived a long time trying to manage everything. But little by little, trust becomes less frightening. Little by little, you learn that the world does not fall apart every time you relax your grip. In fact, sometimes things begin to come together when you finally stop pushing so hard. There are moments and the most healing thing you can do is stop asking life to obey your fear. Fear always wants guarantees. Fear wants proof before peace. Fear wants total control before surrender. But life does not often offer that. Life asks for faith in smaller steps. It asks for one breath, one choice, one softened moment, one decision not to fight what cannot be forced. This is not weakness. This is strength in a quieter form. It is the strength to remain open even when you cannot see the whole road. It is the strength to stop treating uncertainty like an enemy. It is the strength to believe that something good can still be unfolding even when you do not yet understand it. Maybe what you need most today is not more effort. Maybe you do not need one more hour of worry. Maybe you do not need to go over everything again. Maybe what you need is permission to release the need to control what has never truly been in your hands. Maybe what you need is a softer way of being present with life. Maybe what you need is the truth that you can care deeply without carrying everything. You can be wise without being tense. You can be prepared without being trapped in fear. You can be open without needing to know it all. Imagine what it would feel like to stop fighting every unknown. Imagine what it would feel like to let one area of your life breathe. Imagine what it would feel like to trust that you do not have to push every blessing into place. Some things are already moving. Even if you cannot yet see them, some doors are opening in quiet ways. Some healing is happening below the surface. Some answers are forming in their own time. Life is not always still. Just because you cannot see movement right away. Often life is working in hidden ways, and control only makes it harder for you to rest while that hidden work is happening. The need to control often comes from past pain. It comes from moments when you felt powerless, surprised, hurt, or unprotected. The mind learns from those moments and says, never again. So it becomes watchful, it becomes strict, it becomes tense. It tries to guard every door. That is understandable. It deserves compassion. But even if control began as a way to protect you, it may now be draining you. What once felt helpful may now be costing too much peace. There is no shame in seeing that. In fact, there is healing in seeing it clearly. There is healing in saying, this pattern tried to protect me, but I do not want to live this way forever. Trust does not mean nothing hard will ever happen again. It means hard things do not have to own your whole inner world. It means you can meet life with openness instead of constant battle. It means you can release what is not yours while still showing up for what is yours. It means you can let life be alive. It means you can stop gripping every possibility and start receiving each day with more space in your heart. When that happens, blessings feel easy, or to notice. Peace feels easier to receive. Your whole life begins to feel less like a struggle for control and more like a gentle partnership with something wiser than fear. So let yourself breathe into this truth. Everything does not need to be controlled. Not every answer must come now. Not every outcome depends on your tension. Not every uncertainty is a threat. There is another way to live, a softer way, a steadier way, a way where you stop trying to carry the future on your shoulders and begin to trust the step you are standing on, a way where you stop pushing life so hard and start allowing it to move, a way where your heart no longer has to prove its strength by staying tight, a way where peace comes not because everything is perfect, but because you finally loosen your grip and let grace enter. One of the hardest things for the heart to accept is that when something leaves, it can actually be making room for something better. At first, loss often feels like emptiness. It feels like silence where there used to be noise, like a bare room where something once stood, like an ache where something once lived. The mind often rushes in and calls that emptiness failure. It calls it rejection. It calls it lack. It calls it proof that something good is over. But emptiness is not always punishment. Sometimes emptiness is preparation. Sometimes the space that feels strange is the very space where new life is about to enter. When something draining leaves your life, it may not feel good right away. At first, it can feel quiet in an unfamiliar way. You may feel exposed. You may feel uncertain. You may even feel tempted to fill the space quickly just so you do not have to sit with the unknown. But not every empty space needs to be rushed. Some spaces are sacred. Some spaces are healing. Some spaces are where the soul finally gets to breathe after being crowded for too long. If something has been draining your energy, your joy, your peace, or your sense of self, then its leaving may be a mercy even before you can fully see it that way. There are things that take up far more room in the heart than they deserve. Old fears can do that. Old pain can do that. Constant stress can do that. A draining situation can do that. A heavy thought pattern can do that. A role that no longer fits you can do that. These things fill the inner rooms of your life until there seems to be no space left for calm, for hope, for creativity, for faith, for rest. Then when one of those things begins to leave, even if it leaves in a way you did not expect, a doorway opens. It may not look beautiful at first. It may just look quiet, but quiet can be the beginning of something holy. The heart often tries to hold on to what is familiar, even when the familiar is painful. That is why it can be hard to trust empty space. Familiar pain can feel safer than unfamiliar peace. The known burden can feel easier to carry than the unknown future. But what if that empty space is not there to harm you? What if it is there to help you remember what has been missing? What if it is there so peace can finally have a place to sit? What if it is there so your nervous system can stop living in constant strain? What if it is there so your life can welcome something kinder? When something draining leaves, space opens for peace. Space opens for deeper rest. Space opens for clarity. Space opens for a softer inner voice. Space opens for new strength. Space opens for joy that does not have to fight so hard to be felt. Space opens for new dreams, new energy, new ways of living. This does not mean every ending feels easy. It does not mean you must instantly celebrate every loss or every change. It simply means that departure is not always destruction. Sometimes it is the clearing away of what no longer belongs. Sometimes it is the hand of life gently removing what your soul has outgrown. A crowded heart cannot receive very much. If every part of your inner life is full of old sorrow, fear, regret, or draining pressure, where will new blessings go? If your thoughts are full of what has already hurt you, how will you fully notice what is trying to heal you? If your heart is gripping what is over, how will it receive what is arriving? This is why letting go matters. Not because the old pain was meaningless, but because your future needs room, your peace needs room, your healing needs room, your blessings need room. And room is created when what drains you no longer gets to live rent-free in your spirit. Think of a garden that has become overrun with weeds. Even if there are seeds of beauty in the soil, they cannot grow well when all the space, water, and light are being taken by what chokes them. The first step is often not adding more. The first step is clearing what is in the way. Then the garden can breathe. Then the soil can receive. Then what is meant to grow has a real chance. The heart is like that too. Sometimes it is not that there is no blessing for you. Sometimes it is that too much of your energy has been tied up in what has been draining you. Once that begins to clear, life can place something beautiful where heaviness used to be. What leaves may create space for peace first, and that matters. Many people think new blessings must always look dramatic. They think blessings must come as a big answer, a big change, a big moment, but sometimes the first blessing is peace. Sometimes the first blessing is a quieter mind. Sometimes the first blessing is one full breath after many tight ones. Sometimes the first blessing is the end of constant inner strain. Sometimes the first blessing is waking up and noticing that the weight is not sitting on your chest in the same way. Do not overlook those blessings. They are not small. They are signs that life is making room inside you. There is also space for clarity when what drains you leaves, when you are living under constant emoji. Oh no, wait. It can be hard to hear your own wisdom. It can be hard to know what you truly feel, what you truly need, what direction your life is asking for. Draining things make noise. They fill the mind with confusion. They pull your attention away from your own truth. But when they begin to leave, something becomes clearer. You begin to hear yourself again. You begin to sense what is right for you again. You begin to remember that your soul has a voice underneath all the strain. That clarity is a blessing too. What leaves can also create space for stronger self-respect. When you stop allowing what drains you to take all your energy, you send a message to yourself that your peace matters. You say, I am no longer willing to be emptied by this. I am no longer willing to stay loyal to what harms me. I am no longer willing to fill every room of my life with pressure and pain. That is a powerful shift. It changes the way you relate to yourself. It helps you trust your own inner wisdom. It teaches you that release is not failure. It is self-honor. It is self-care in a deep and spiritual form. Many people fear the empty space because they think nothing will come after it. But life does not love emptiness for its own sake. Life fills open spaces. Nature does this all the time. After winter, new growth comes. After the field is cleared, new planting begins. After the storm passes, the air changes. Life moves. Life responds, life fills. Your inner world is not forgotten just because it is in a quiet season. Something may be gathering. Something may be healing. Something may be preparing to enter in a way it could not before because the space was too crowded. You do not always get to choose how life clears things away. That is one of the hardest truths. Sometimes the leaving comes in a way you would not have chosen. Sometimes something ends before you feel ready. Sometimes a chapter closes while part of your heart still wanted more time. That pain is real, that deserves tenderness, but even then, there can still be truth in this. What leaves may still be making room for what is better. Better does not always mean easier right away. Better may mean more honest. Better may mean more peaceful. Better may mean more aligned with who you are becoming. Better may mean something that supports your spirit instead of draining it. There are times when the soul outgrows what once felt normal, outgrows constant struggle, outgrows constant proving, outgrows spaces that demand too much and return too little, outgrows patterns of living that keep the heart small. When that happens, something has to shift, something has to open, something has to leave, either from the outside or from within. This is not always comfortable, but it is often sacred. Growth needs room, healing needs room, becoming needs room. And what once fit you may no longer belong in the life you are growing into. Maybe right now you are standing in a kind of empty spa. Maybe something has already left, and you are still learning how to trust the quiet. Maybe what used to fill your days is no longer there. Maybe what used to pull on your energy is gone, and part of you does not yet know how to live without that weight. If so, be gentle with yourself. Empty space can feel strange before it feels peaceful, but do not rush to fill it with the first thing that appears just because you are uncomfortable. Let the space breathe. Let your heart settle. Let life show you what belongs there now. Not everything that fills a space is a blessing. Some things are just noise. Wait for what brings peace. There is wisdom in saying, I do not need to fear the empty place. I can trust that something better can grow here. I can trust that this quiet is not meaningless. I can trust that what leaves is not always being taken from me in cruelty. Sometimes it is being lifted so I can stand straighter. Sometimes it is being removed so I can breathe deeper. Sometimes it is being cleared so new grace can reach me. That trust takes time, but it becomes stronger with every moment you stop looking at empty space as your enemy. New blessings often do not enter with loud announcement. They arrive gently. They arrive as deeper peace, more self-respect, clearer thinking, stronger boundaries, softer mornings, lighter breathing, renewed hope. They arrive as new strength to say no to what drains you and yes to what heals you. They arrive as a new way of living that no longer requires constant inner struggle. When you begin to recognize these things, you stop fearing the space that made them possible. You start to see that what left was not the end of blessing. It was the beginning of room for blessing. So if something draining has left or is leaving, do not be too quick to call it only loss. Sit quietly with the possibility that space is being made. Space for peace, space for healing, space for something more true, space for something kinder, space for the kind of life that does not ask your spirit to stay heavy all the time. This space may feel tender now, but it is also fertile. It is open, it is ready, and in that openness, life can begin to place gifts you could not fully receive before, not because you forced them, not because you chased them, but because you finally had room. Imagine for a moment that you are standing beside a quiet stream at the end of a long day. The air is soft, the light is gentle, nothing is rushing you, nothing is demanding your attention. The world around you feels still in a kind and peaceful way. In your hands, you are carrying what has been weighing on you, not in a way that others can see, but in a way your heart knows very well. In your hands are the worries you have repeated too many times, the old hurt you still feel, the stress that has been sitting in your body, the pressure you have been placing on yourself, the frightful fear that life will not get better, the tiredness that no amount of sleep seems to fix. You have been carrying these things for so long that they have begun to feel normal. But here, in this quiet place, you are allowed to notice their weight. Take a slow breath in and let yourself feel how heavy those things have become. No need to judge yourself, no need to rush, just notice. Notice the pull they have had on your spirit. Notice how much energy it has taken to carry them. Notice how long you have been asking your heart to hold more than it was meant to hold. This is not a moment of blame. It is a moment of truth, and truth is gentle when it is held with love. You are simply seeing clearly what has been with you, what has been draining you, and what no longer needs to stay in your hands. The stream in front of you is calm and steady. It keeps moving without force. It knows how to carry what is given to it. It knows how to take what is heavy and move it onward. You do not have to understand exactly where it goes. You do not have to know exactly how release works. You only need to be willing. You only need to trust enough to place down what has been hurting you. One by one, you begin to look at the things you are holding. Perhaps one is fear. Perhaps one is guilt. Perhaps one is pressure. Perhaps one is grief. Perhaps one is the need to control everything. Perhaps one is the old thought that you are not enough. You do not need to fight these things. You only need to see them honestly. Now imagine placing the first burden into the water. You do not throw it with anger. You place it down with care. You let the stream take it. You watch it move away from you, little by little, until it is no longer in your hands. Then you place the next one down, and the next. Some are easier to release. Some take more tenderness. Some try to cling for one last moment because they have been with you a long time. But the stream is patient. It does not rush you. It simply keeps flowing, ready to carry what you are ready to let go of. As each burden leaves your hands, notice what happens inside your body. Notice how your fingers begin to soften. Notice how your shoulders begin to lower. Notice how your chest begins to feel less crowded. Notice how the breath moves a little more freely. This is what release feels like. It does not always come as fireworks. Sometimes it comes as softness. Sometimes it comes as the quiet surprise of realizing that you do not need to hold everything so tightly. Sometimes it comes as relief. Sometimes it comes as tears. Sometimes it comes as silence. But all of it is sacred. all of it is healing. Now imagine that the stream is not only carrying away what drained you. Imagine that it is also bringing something back. Not more burden, not more pressure. It is bringing light. It is bringing peace. It is bringing rest. It is bringing a gentle strength that does not need fear in order to feel strong. It is bringing trust. It is bringing calm. The water that moves past you now seems touched by light. It reflects soft gold. It moves around your feet with a kind steadiness, as if to say, "You are safe here. You are held here. You do not have to fight this moment." As the burdens leave and the light draws near, imagine that your heart begins to open just a little more. Not all at once, just enough. Enough to receive peace. Enough to stop bracing. Enough to allow something new to enter. You do not have to force yourself to be joyful right now. You do not have to pretend all the pain is gone. You only need to be open enough to let peace sit beside the pain and begin to soften it. You only need to allow your spirit to feel that it is no longer alone with the weight. Something greater is helping carry it now. Picture the old heaviness leaving your body like dark smoke that rises and dissolves in the open air. Not in a frightening way, but in a freeing way. It leaves your chest, it leaves your shoulders, it leaves your stomach, it leaves your thoughts. It leaves the places where tension has been living, and as it leaves, warm light fills those spaces. Not bright in a harsh way, but warm like morning sunlight coming through a window. The light does not demand anything from you. It simply enters where there is room. It settles where the weight has lifted. It brings ease where strain used to be. The beautiful thing about this picture is that it reminds you of something true. Your spirit knows how to release when it feels safe. So often people try to force themselves to heal. They try to push themselves into peace. They become hard with themselves when the pain does not disappear right away. But healing is often gentler than that. Healing responds to kindness. Healing responds to honesty. Healing responds to moments where the heart is allowed to soften. In this picture by the stream, nothing is being forced. Everything is being allowed, and that is why it works. What drains you does not need one more battle. It needs a gentle release. Now imagine placing your hand over your heart and whispering softly, "I release what has been draining me. I no longer need to carry this alone. I am open to peace." Let those words move through you slowly. Let them reach the tired places. Let them touch the guarded places. Let them remind your body that it is safe to let go a little more. These words are not magic in a childish way. They are powerful because they tell the truth your soul has been waiting to hear. They tell the truth that you are allowed to stop carrying what has made you weary. See the stream continuing to move. It does not struggle to flow. It does not force itself. It simply follows its nature. There is a lesson there for you too. Life moves best when it is not always being pushed. The heart heals best when it is not always being judged. Blessings enter best when there is openness. The more you let release happen naturally, the more your spirit remembers how to trust. And the more you trust, the more the tightness begins to melt. Not because everything is suddenly perfect, but because you are no longer fighting your own healing. Imagine now that around you there is only stillness and safety. The air is soft, the water is calm, the light is warm, and you are no longer standing there with hands full of weight. Your hands are open now. Your breath is easier now. Your body feels lighter now. The burden may not be gone all at once, but something real has shifted. You are no longer gripping it in the same way. You are no longer asking your soul to carry it with the same force. You have made room. That room matters. That room is where new blessings begin. In this open space inside you, peace can now enter more fully. Maybe it enters as a deep breath. Maybe it enters as a sense of calm that has been missing for a long time. Maybe it enters as trust that you do not need to figure everything out tonight. Maybe it enters as the feeling that life is not against you. Maybe it enters as the quiet truth that your heart deserves rest. However it comes, let it come. Do not question it. Do not rush it. Do not tell yourself it is too small to matter. Peace often enters gently before it becomes strong. Now imagine that the stream is carrying toward you not only light, but blessings, soft blessings, quiet blessings, the kind that restore the soul, a blessing of deeper rest, a blessing of inner steadiness, a blessing of self-forgiveness, a blessing of new hope, a blessing of clearer thinking, a blessing of softer mornings, a blessing of freedom from constant strain. These blessings are not somewhere far away. They are already moving toward any open space inside you. The more you let go of what drains you, the more room there is for them to arrive. Stay here for a moment longer in this picture. Let it become real in your body. Let your jaw soften. Let your shoulders drop. Let your breath lengthen. Let your chest open. Let your heart understand that release does not destroy you. Release restores you. The things that have been draining you do not need to remain in order for you to be whole. In fact, your wholeness becomes easier to feel when they no longer fill every part of your inner world. You do not lose yourself in release. You find more space to be yourself again. And whenever the old heaviness returns, whenever the mind begins to grip again, whenever fear tries to fill your hands one more time, you can return to this picture. You can return to the stream. You can return to the light. You can return to the feeling of placing your burdens down one by one. You can remind yourself that life knows how to carry what you no longer need to drag through every day. You can remind yourself that peace becomes possible when you stop holding so tightly. You can remind yourself that blessings need open hands. So let this picture remain in you, a simple spiritual picture of release, not dramatic, not distant, gentle, clear healing. You standing in peace, your burdens no longer locked in your grip, the stream carrying away what drained you, light filling what has been emptied, blessings moving toward the open space. This is the truth your soul has been waiting for. You are allowed to put it down. You are allowed to breathe. You are allowed to be filled with something better. There is a simple truth that changes everything once it is fully understood. New blessings need space to enter. They need room in your heart, room in your thoughts, room in your energy, room in your life. If every part of you is filled with fear, old hurt, inner pressure, and the need to control, then even when good things begin to move toward you, it can be hard to receive them. Not because they are not real, not because you are not worthy, but because your inner world has been so full of strain that there is no soft place for goodness to rest. This is why an open heart matters so deeply. It is not just a beautiful idea. It is the doorway through which peace, healing, joy, and new blessings can finally enter. When the heart is closed, life can still be offering good, but the good has trouble landing. A kind word may come, but you do not fully take it in. A moment of peace may arrive, but you do not trust it enough to stay with it. A new chance may appear, but fear quickly tells you to pull back. A feeling of hope may rise, but the mind begins listing every reason not to believe in it. This is how a closed heart protects itself, but it also keeps itself from fully receiving. It does not only block pain, it can also block comfort. It does not only hold back disappointment, it can also hold back grace. That is why healing is not only about removing what hurts, it is also about learning how to open again. An open heart does not mean a foolish heart. It does not mean you stop being wise. It does not mean you allow everything in. It does not mean you ignore your boundaries or pretend you were never hurt. An open heart is not weak. It is aware. It is honest. It is soft without losing its wisdom. It knows the difference between what drains it and what feeds it. It knows the difference between what asks too much and what offers peace. It knows that life can still be trusted in gentle ways, even after disappointment. And because it knows this, it becomes a place where blessings can rest instead of being pushed away. So many people want something new to come into their life while still holding on tightly to everything old that has been hurting them. They want peace, but they keep feeding fear. They want joy, but they keep rehearsing the pain. They want healing, but they keep telling the same story of hopelessness. They want fresh blessings, but there is no room inside because old heaviness is filling every corner. This is not a punishment. It is simply how the heart works. If a room is already overflowing, nothing new can settle there with ease. First, there must be space. First, there must be release. First, there must be an opening. Think about what happens when you open a window in a room that has been closed for too long. Fresh air begins to enter. Light begins to move across the space. The room feels different, even if nothing else has changed yet. In the same way, when your heart begins to open, something shifts. Your inner world starts to feel less heavy. Your breathing changes, your thoughts soften, your body becomes less guarded, and into that opening, blessings begin to move, perhaps slowly, perhaps quietly, but they move. The blessing of calm enters, the blessing of hope enters, the blessing of trust enters, the blessing of feeling connected to life again enters. These things matter more than many people realize. One reason it can be hard to open the heart is because people often believe that being closed keeps them safe. They think, if I do not hope, I cannot be disappointed. If I do not trust, I cannot be hurt. If I do not open, I cannot lose anything. But a closed heart does not only protect you from pain, it also distances you from life. It keeps you from fully feeling peace when it is present. It keeps you from fully receiving love when it is offered. It keeps you from fully resting, even when the storm has passed. In trying to stay safe from hurt, the closed heart can also keep itself far from healing. That is why opening is so sacred. Opening is not carelessness. It is a decision to let life touch you again. An open heart is where blessings grow roots. It is where kindness is allowed to matter. It is where healing can settle instead of passing by. It is where a new beginning can feel possible. It is where simple things become meaningful again. A quiet morning, a steady breath, a clear thought, a soft feeling of peace, a sense that maybe life is not against you after all. These may seem small, but they are not small to the soul. These are the first signs that your inner world is becoming a place where good can stay. They are the first signs that blessings are no longer knocking on a closed door. The heart opens slowly for many people, and that is okay. You do not have to force yourself into immediate trust. You do not have to pretend you feel safe when you do not. You do not have to open all at once. Sometimes the heart opens in tiny ways, a little more honesty, a little more softness, a little less fear, a little more willingness to receive peace, a little more space between you and the thoughts that used to rule you. These small openings matter. They are how blessings begin to enter naturally. The heart does not need to be perfect in order to receive, it only needs to be willing. Blessings often arrive in forms the mind does not expect. They may not come as one huge answer. They may come as inner calm. They may come as a change in how you speak to yourself. They may come as the strength to stop returning to what drained you. They may come as clearer choices. They may come as deeper rest. They may come as a new sense of worth. They may come as a peaceful feeling in the middle of a day that would once have overwhelmed you. If your heart is closed, you may miss these blessings because you are only looking for something bigger. But when your heart is open, you begin to see how much good has been trying to reach you all along. There is also something powerful about understanding that blessings are not always about getting more. Sometimes blessings are about feeling more present, feeling more peaceful, feeling more whole, feeling more free from the old strain that used to control your days, feeling more able to trust life one moment at a time. These are real blessings. They do not always arrive with noise, but they change the quality of your life. They change how you wake up. They change how you move through hard moments. They change what you believe is possible for yourself. And all of this becomes easier when the heart is no longer shut tight against life. If fear has been filling your heart for a long time, opening may feel unfamiliar. You may even mistake openness for weakness because you are so used to bracing. But bracing is not the only way to live. Guarding is not the only way to survive. There is another way, a softer way, a wiser way, a way where the heart does not have to live under constant tension, a way where you can be grounded without being closed, peaceful without being numb, receptive without being careless. This way becomes possible when you stop giving fear all the room and begin making space for trust. You do not need to know exactly what blessing is coming next in order to open your heart. You do not need proof before you allow peace. You do not need guarantees before you soften. You only need to understand that a closed heart cannot receive fully, and an open heart can. This is reason enough to begin. This is reason enough to let a little more light in. This is reason enough to stop feeding only the pain and start making room for the good. Not because the good must be forced, but because the good needs somewhere to land. Imagine your heart now as a quiet room. Perhaps for a long time that room has been crowded. Fear in one corner, worry in another, old hurt piled high against the walls, tension sitting in the center of the room like a heavy chair no one can move. But now, slowly, things are being cleared, not all at once, just enough. Enough for fresh air to enter, enough for light to fall across the floor, enough for something peaceful to come in and remain. That is what openness does. It creates room, and room is where new blessings begin to live. So if you have been asking for something new, ask yourself gently whether there is space for it in your heart. If you have been longing for peace, ask yourself whether fear has been taking up too much room. If you have been longing for healing, ask yourself whether you have been keeping the door open to the old pain more than to the new possibility. These are tender questions, not harsh ones. They are not meant to blame you. They are meant to awaken you. They are meant to help you see that you are not powerless. You can create room. You can soften your inner world. You can open enough for life to place something kind inside you. And once the heart begins to open, blessings often come more easily than you imagined. Not because life suddenly changed overnight, but because you changed the place where life enters. You changed the space inside yourself. You stopped asking fear to guard every door. You stopped filling every room with what once drained you. You became available for peace. You became available for rest. You became available for quiet joy. You became available for the truth that life still has good to offer you. That is what an open heart does. It does not force blessings to come. It simply makes it possible for them to stay. One of the hardest parts of healing is learning not to rush what is still unfolding. The heart often wants relief right away. It wants the pain gone now, the answer now, the peace now, the blessing now, and that longing is human. It is natural to want the waiting to end. It is natural to want life to move faster when the soul has been tired for a long time. But new blessings do not always arrive the moment the mind demands them. Often they arrive in the moment the heart is ready to truly receive them. That is why trusting the timing matters so much. Without trust, waiting becomes torment. With trust, waiting becomes a season of quiet preparation. Many people think a delay means something is wrong. They think if the answer has not come yet, if the healing is not complete yet, if the peace does not stay all day yet, then maybe life has forgotten them. But delay is not always denial. Sometimes delay is protection. Sometimes delay is growth happening out of sight. Sometimes delay is the gentle work of life, putting things into order in ways you cannot yet see. What feels slow may not be empty at all. What feels quiet may be full of unseen movement. Life is often doing deep work below the surface, long before the outer change becomes visible. Think of how slowly a seed grows under the soil. If you looked at the earth too soon, you might think nothing is happening. You might think the seed has been forgotten. You might think the waiting is pointless. But beneath the surface, roots are forming. Life is gathering strength where no one can see it yet. In the same way, there are times when blessings are growing in the dark before they rise into the light. Healing may be happening in places within you that your mind cannot measure yet. Peace may be building slowly in your spirit. Strength may be growing quietly. A new chapter may be preparing itself even while everything looks still on the outside. This is why rushing can be so painful. When you rush, you begin to treat your own unfolding as a problem. You begin to feel behind. You begin to think something is wrong with your journey because it does not look the way you expected. But life does not move by panic. Life does not bloom because you pressure it. It blooms because the timing is right. It blooms because the season is ready. It blooms because what is needed has taken root. The soul works that way too. Healing often ripens slowly. Trust often deepens slowly. Blessings often arrive after inner space has been made, after old heaviness has loosened, after the heart has become open enough to receive without fear. Trusting the timing does not mean you enjoy every moment of waiting. It does not mean you never feel impatient. It does not mean you stop longing for change. It means that even in the longing, you choose not to turn against life. It means that even in the waiting, you choose not to call yourself forgotten. It means that even when the answer is not visible, you remain open to the possibility that something good is still on its way. This kind of trust is soft, but it is strong. It keeps the heart from hardening while it waits. It keeps hope alive without forcing it. It allows peace to stay near even before the full blessing arrives. There is a special kind of exhaustion that comes from believing you are late. It drains so many people. They look at their life and think, this should have happened by now. I should be farther by now. I should be more healed by now. I should be past this by now. But healing does not become deeper because you shame it into moving faster. Blessings do not come closer because you compare your path to someone else's. Peace does not grow well in the soil of self-pressure. What if your life is not behind at all? What if it is moving in its own honest timing? What if your spirit knows a pace that your fearful mind has not yet learned to trust? Nature teaches this truth again and again. The sunrise does not rush the morning. The river does not force itself to become the ocean in one day. The tree does not hate itself for growing slowly. Each thing moves according to its own design. There is no panic in the seasons. There is movement, but not panic. There is change, but not self-attack. There is waiting, but not shame. There is wisdom there for you. Your life is not meant to unfold in constant inner pressure. Your healing is not meant to happen in a state of punishment. Your blessings do not need your panic. They need your openness. They need your trust. They need a heart that believes good can still arrive without being forced. Sometimes the reason a blessing has not yet fully appeared is because you are still becoming the version of yourself who can hold it with peace. This is not punishment, it is preparation. New blessings entered before the heart had made room. They might be met with fear instead of trust. If healing came too quickly, without gentleness, the mind might not know how to rest inside it. If peace arrived before you learned to stop gripping pain, you might not recognize it long enough to stay with it. So life, in its quiet wisdom, may be teaching you how to receive, teaching you how to soften, teaching you how to stay open without demanding that everything happen now. Trusting the timing also means not digging up what has just been planted. Sometimes people say they are ready for new blessings, but then every day they check with fear. Where is it? Why is it not here? Did I do something wrong? Is it ever coming? Maybe it will not happen after all. This kind of fear pulls at the roots of what is still growing. It keeps the heart in a state of strain. But trust is different. Trust waters the seed and lets it rest. Trust says, I may not see it yet, but I believe something good is still moving. Trust says, I do not need to chase what is already finding its way. Trust says, I can breathe while life unfolds. The waiting season can become beautiful when it is filled with trust instead of panic. It becomes a place where your heart learns steadiness, a place where you become less afraid of what you cannot yet see, a place where you practice peace in the middle of unfinished things, a place where you learn that uncertainty does not have to steal all your joy, a place where you discover that the present moment still has goodness in it, even before the next blessing fully arrives. This matters because if you only allow yourself peace after everything comes together, you miss the quiet grace that is already here. There are blessings already present inside the waiting. The blessing of becoming more patient, the blessing of seeing your own strength, the blessing of learning how to trust life one day at a time, the blessing of feeling your heart grow softer instead of harder, the blessing of no longer measuring your worth by how fast things change, the blessing of resting in the truth that what is meant for you does not need fear to bring it closer. These are not second-best blessings. These are part of the deeper blessing itself. They prepare the soil of your spirit so that when new good arrives, it can truly stay. If you have been feeling discouraged because things seem slow, be gentle with yourself. Slowness is not always failure. Quiet is not always absence. Delay is not always loss. Sometimes life is simply moving in a deeper rhythm than the mind understands. Sometimes your healing is growing roots. Sometimes the blessing is closer than it seems. But it is arriving in the only timing that will truly serve your soul. Not too early, not too late, in the moment when it can enter not as one more thing to fear, but as something you are ready to receive with gratitude. You are allowed to trust that what belongs in your life will not miss you. You are allowed to believe that blessings can still find you without you forcing every step. You are allowed to rest in the idea that life has not forgotten your name. Even now, things may be moving in quiet ways. Peace may be gathering, strength may be forming, openings may be appearing beyond what you can currently see. Your work is not to drag tomorrow toward you with worry. Your work is to stay open today, to keep your heart soft, to keep your spirit willing, to keep making room for the good that is coming in its own right time. So if the blessing you long for has not fully arrived yet, do not rush to call the story over. Do not rush to believe that you have been passed by. Let patience become part of your healing. Let trust become part of your daily life. Let the waiting teach you how to breathe in unfinished moments. Let it teach you how to stand in the present without fear taking over. Let it teach you that timing is not your enemy. Timing may be one of the kindest things life offers, because what comes in the right time does not only arrive, it fits, it settles. It blesses you in a deeper way because your heart is finally ready to hold it. Healing becomes stronger when it is practiced, not in a hard and demanding way, but in a gentle, daily way. Small acts done with love can change the whole feeling of a life. One breath, one quiet pause, one honest moment with your own heart, one kind word spoken to yourself before the noise of the day begins. These simple things matter more than many people think. If you want to let go of what has drained you and make room for new blessings, it helps to create a daily practice that reminds your mind, your body, and your spirit of what you are choosing now. You are choosing release. You are choosing openness. You are choosing peace. You are choosing to receive. A daily practice does not need to be long or complicated. It does not need perfect conditions. It does not need special tools. It only needs sincerity. It only needs your willingness to stop for a few moments and return to what is true. Return to your breath. Return to your heart. Return to the truth that you no longer want to spend your energy feeding what drains you. Return to the truth that new blessings can enter when you are open. These small returns, repeated day after day, begin to reshape your inner world. They teach the nervous system that safety is possible. They teach the heart that peace can become familiar. They teach the mind a new pattern, one that is not built on fear. A beautiful way to begin is in the morning, before the world starts asking things from you, before the noise of the day grows loud, before old thoughts fully wake up and begin their familiar circles. In that first quiet moment, place your hand on your heart. Let your palm rest there gently. Feel that your heart is still here, still beating, still carrying you into another day. Then take one slow breath in and one slow breath out. Nothing fancy, nothing forced, just a real breath. Let it be a signal to your whole being that you are not beginning the day with pressure. You are beginning with presence. Now say softly to yourself, I let go of what drains me. Say it slowly. Let the words sink lower than the mind and deeper into the body. I let go of what drains me. These words are simple, but they carry a deep permission. They tell your spirit that it does not need to hold on to every fear, every old story, every pressure, every wound. They tell your body that it can stop preparing to carry everything all over again. They tell your mind that another way is possible, a lighter way, a kinder way, a more peaceful way. After that, say softly, I am open to peace. Let those words open a little more room inside you. Notice how different they feel from words of fear. Fear tightens, peace softens, fear braces, peace opens, fear rushes, peace breathes. When you say, I am open to peace, you are not pretending everything is perfect. You are making a choice about what you want to welcome. You are telling your heart that peace is allowed to enter even before every problem is solved. You are telling your inner world that calm does not need to wait until all uncertainty is gone. This matters. It changes the tone of the whole day. Then say, new blessings are filling my life. You do not have to force belief. You do not have to make yourself feel something dramatic. Just allow the words to be spoken with honesty and willingness. New blessings are filling my life. Maybe those blessings are already present in forms you have not fully noticed. Maybe they are arriving gently. Maybe they are still making their way toward you. Maybe they are already entering in quiet ways through softer thoughts, kinder choices, deeper breaths, and moments of unexpected calm. The point is not to control the blessing. The point is to become receptive to it. This small practice can take less than 2 minutes, but it can change the direction of your energy. It can interrupt the old habit of waking up already tense. It can help you stop beginning the day from fear. It can help you remember who you are beneath the weight you have been carrying. And over time, these moments build something beautiful. They build trust. They build steadiness. They build a new inner voice that does not speak only in pressure and warning. They build a sense that your life can be lived from openness instead of constant defense. You can return to this practice at any point in the day when the old heaviness returns. Maybe in the afternoon when your mind starts racing. Maybe in the evening when the day has tired you out. Maybe in a moment of stress, when you feel yourself slipping back into control and fear. In those moments, pause. Put your hand on your heart again if you can. Breathe again. Whisper again. I let go of what drains me. I am open to peace. New blessings are filling my life. You do not need to fight the old thoughts. You only need to return to what is true often enough that it begins to feel stronger than the fear. There is something healing about repetition. when it is rooted in love. The world teaches repetition in fear, repeating worries, repeating doubts, repeating the old pain, repeating the same story of what might go wrong. But this practice gives you a different kind of repetition, a healing repetition, a repetition that teaches release instead of tension, a repetition that teaches receiving instead of bracing, a repetition that plants new thoughts like seeds in the soil of your inner life. The mind learns through repetition. The body learns through repetition. The heart opens through repetition. So do not think small daily words do not matter. They matter deeply. You may also want to add a small evening practice, not to judge the day, but to soften before sleep. At the end of the day, before you rest, sit quietly for a moment and ask yourself, what drained me today and what gave me peace? Do not ask in a harsh way, ask in a loving way. Just notice. Maybe a certain thought drained you. Maybe a certain worry took too much of your energy. Maybe a certain moment of silence gave you peace. Maybe a certain deep breath helped more than you expected. This noticing is important because it teaches you how to care for your spirit with more wisdom. It helps you see clearly what empties you and what restores you. Then, before sleep, you might whisper again, I release today with love. I do not need to carry all of it into tomorrow. These words are like opening your hands before the night begins. They tell the soul it does not have to sleep with a grip full of the day's weight. They tell the nervous system that it is safe to rest. They tell your heart that tomorrow does not need to begin already crowded. Even if you still have concerns, even if not everything is resolved, the practice itself becomes an act of trust. It becomes a way of saying, I am no longer willing to carry every burden as though it belongs inside me forever. This daily practice also teaches you something deeper. You always have a doorway back to yourself. Even when the day becomes chaotic, even when old patterns rise, even when heaviness tries to return, you are not helpless in those moments. You have a way back. Breath, hand on heart, release, openness, receiving. This is simple, but simplicity is powerful when it is lived. You do not need a perfect life in order to practice peace. You only need the willingness to stop and remember what your soul most needs. There may be days when the practice feels beautiful and natural. There may be other days when it feels dry, when the mind is busy, when the heart feels guarded, when the words feel harder to believe. Do not let that stop you. The practice is not only for the easy days, it is especially for the hard ones. On those days, the act of showing up gently for you or self matters even more. Even if all you can do is take one real breath and whisper one honest line, that is enough. Healing does not demand perfection. It responds to sincerity. It responds to willingness. It responds to the quiet decision to keep returning. A daily practice like this is not about escaping life. It is about living life from a different place, a less drained place, a less fearful place, a more open place, a more peaceful place. It is about teaching yourself that your first relationship each day is with your own spirit. It is about deciding that you will not abandon yourself to old heaviness every morning. It is about becoming the kind of presence in your own life that invites blessings instead of only expecting struggle. The more you practice release and receiving, the more natural it begins to feel. Peace starts to feel less strange. Calm starts to feel more familiar. Blessings become easier to notice. You begin to trust that you do not have to stay full of what hurt you. You begin to trust that your heart can live in openness without losing its wisdom. You begin to trust that your life has room for something better, and that trust, repeated daily, becomes part of your healing. It becomes part of how you live, how you breathe, how you move through the world. So keep it simple, hand on heart, one breath, one release, one opening, one invitation. I let go of what drains me. I am open to peace. New blessings are filling my life. Let those words become familiar. Let them become soft medicine for the tired parts of you. Let them become a daily turning toward grace. Little by little, this practice will help you stop carrying what was never meant to stay and help you welcome what has been waiting for room inside you. There comes a quiet moment in healing when the heart finally understands that it does not have to stay tired forever. It does not have to keep proving its strength by carrying pain. It does not have to keep living as though heaviness is the only way to be serious, wise, or prepared. It does not have to keep making space for what drains it while turning away from what could restore it. That moment is gentle, but it is powerful. It is the moment the soul says, I am ready now. I am ready to release. I am ready to breathe. I am ready to let new blessings find me. If you have been carrying more than your spirit can hold with peace, let this be the moment you stop asking yourself to stay strong in that old way. Let this be the moment you choose a softer strength, a strength that knows when to open, a strength that knows when to stop gripping, a strength that knows that peace is not weakness and release is not failure. There is so much grace in that. There is so much healing in giving yourself permission to live with a lighter heart. You are not behind because you needed time. You are not forgotten because life has been quiet. You are not lost because your healing has been slow. You are not failing because some days still feel heavy. You are human. You are growing. You are learning how to let go of what drained you. You are learning how to stop filling your inner world with what no longer belongs there. You are learning how to make space for what heals, what restores, what blesses. That learning is sacred. That learning is enough. You do not need to rush your becoming. There is still so much good that can enter your life. There is still peace that can reach you. There is still softness that can return to your body. There is still trust that can grow in your heart. There is still joy that can rise where heaviness used to sit. There is still rest that can find you after all the strain. There is still healing for the tired places. There is still light for the places that have felt dim. There are still new blessings that can fill your life, not because you force them, but because you finally begin to make room for them. Maybe the blessing begins very quietly. Maybe it begins as a calmer breath. Maybe it begins as a moment of not returning to the old pain. Maybe it begins as the decision to stop feeding the fear. Maybe it begins as one morning where your hand rests on your heart and you choose peace on purpose. Maybe it begins as one evening where you release the day with love instead of carrying it into the night. However it begins, let it matter. Do not overlook the small openings. They are often the beginning of the deepest change. Life is often kinder than fear allows you to believe. Fear says you must hold everything. Fear says if you let go, you will lose too much. Fear says the empty space will swallow you. But life says something softer. Life says, open a little. Life says, breathe. Life says you do not need to carry this alone. Life says what leaves may be making room. Life says peace can enter now. Life says blessings are still possible. And when you begin to listen to that quieter voice, something inside you rests. Something inside you remembers that life is not only a place of burden, it is also a place of grace. So now, let your heart receive this with gentleness. You are allowed to release what has drained you. You are allowed to stop carrying what no longer serves your peace. You are allowed to trust that your worth does not depend on how much pain you can endure. You are allowed to make room for healing. You are allowed to expect goodness in new forms. You are allowed to believe that what is meant to bless you can still find you. These permissions matter. They are not small. They are the doorway into a life lived with more openness, more truth, and more peace. Place your hand over your heart again in your mind, or in real life if you can. Feel your own presence. Feel the quiet life within you. Feel that you are still here after everything. You are still here. And because you are still here, there is still room for new beginnings. There is still room for softer days. There is still room for healing to deepen. There is still room for peace to become more natural. There is still room for blessings to enter. Let that truth sit with you. Let it settle gently into the places that have been tired. Now whisper these words slowly and let them become real inside you. I release what has drained me. I open my heart to new blessings. Life is filling me with peace, love, and light. Say them again, but even more softly. I release what has drained me. I open my heart to new blessings. Life is filling me with peace, love, and light. These words are not only comforting, they are a direction. They are a choice. They are a sacred turning away from what empties you, and a sacred turning toward what restores you. Let your breath move slowly now. Let your shoulders soften. Let your jaw relax. Let your mind become a little quieter. You do not have to solve your whole life in this moment. You do not have to know every next step. You do not have to force tomorrow to reveal itself tonight. For now, it is enough to release. For now, it is enough to open. For now, it is enough to trust that something beautiful can grow in the space you are creating. That is enough. that is more than enough. So carry this truth with you gently. What has drained you does not need to remain at the center of your life. You can release it. You can soften your grip. You can stop feeding what has kept your spirit tired. And as you do, you are not becoming empty in a painful way. You are becoming open in a healing way. You are making space for peace. You are making space for trust. You are making space for rest. You are making space for new blessings to enter and stay. Let each day become a quiet act of release. Let each breath remind you that you do not have to hold everything. Let each moment of softness teach you that peace is safe. Let each small blessing remind you that life is still moving toward you with kindness. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not too late for healing. You are simply being invited to open. And in that opening, life can fill you again with what is gentle, what is true, what is healing, and what is meant for you.